Right, welcome to the Bear Tiger Pod.
Episode 2.
James Slate, JSNFT. I'm going to keep going with that on Twitter if you need to find him.
Really, really chuffed to get invited back after episode 1.
Yeah, some reasonably good feedback so far.
From myself.
And we've got a new guest on our show. He's taken the Twitter world by storm so far, and is 5 days in to social media.
And 8 followers, yeah. By storm.
TBTC Nige, Big Nige.
TBTC Big Nige.
Look him up. So
already undergone his first Twitter ban.
Yeah, I'm back on now.
Nige is one of our Bear Tiger founders, and so he's decided to get involved in the social media world, starting with Twitter. And he's got a very entertaining account, which I've been trying to pump your account as much as I can.
Thank you.
And you've already had a little ban.
Yeah, I was making some jokes about Liv and Patrick Reed, and they didn't like that. So.
He didn't like it.
The Saudis are everywhere.
So it must be a record that I'm very, very, very impressed. I've never actually spoken to somebody who's been banned on Twitter. So he's done it in 5 days. So yeah, definitely worth a follow. What is the actual handle? Is it?
I think it is at TBTC Big Nige, right?
Yeah, it's there.
We'll check it out, and then we'll confirm.
We'll definitely make sure it gets a full.
I appreciate the shout out and the
TBTC
invite.
TBTC Big Nige.
Although I know I'm only invited here because your regular guests are all doing interesting things today on the golf course.
But if you put in a good show, they're not going to be.
They're going to be under pressure.
They're under pressure.
So
they don't perform under pressure, those boys.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself, Nige. So you're a golfer?
Avid golfer, been playing for 35 years and struggling with it really. The last 10 have been a bit of a barren patch.
As we all are.
Yeah.
Handicap?
12.2.
12.2. And what's a very brief roundup of your golf game?
Others have quoted it as being PGA Tour at the driver end and then Sunshine Tour at the wedge end.
Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, that's hopefully we'll see it at some point on film on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's the only reason I really got involved, because I was promised free chipping lessons as long as you could video it and have your laughs.
That would be a mega series, that.
It'll be a long series.
Okay, so let's get into the fat of it. Let's do a roundup of this week's golf. Let's start out with PGA Tour. I was doing some of the comms for the PGA Tour for Sky and Discovery this week, and needless to say, I'm not going to be around the bush. It was a bit slow. We didn't have any of the marquee players playing. They were all in other places. There's a bunch of them who have gone to that JP McManus Pro-Am and prepping for the Scottish Open and the Open Championship. So, but it does make a big opportunity for some of the smaller players, newer players on tour to make a name for themselves. Still, there's lots of money to be had, and there's FedEx Cup points, and there's momentum and confidence to be had. James, did you pick up any of the golf?
Yeah, no, I did my research, followed all 3 tours now. The ladies had a week off after the major. So, yeah, I think JT Poston went wire to wire, right? And he looked pretty solid, but then I did think that the field in the back 9 made it a bit easier for them. They all started on the front 9 to put him under the gun a little bit, and then it just looked like he kind of played par golf and people dropped away. But nonetheless, a win is a win. And I believe our very own Callum Tarrant from the UK, who Nigel and gang proudly sponsored, had a pretty good run this week. And a top 10 is no doubt going to get him into next week and help with him get towards the 125, which I guess they'll start thinking about now, right? Because like you just said, an opportunity for some players who are less profile, but they'll start thinking about the 125 at the end of the season, won't they now? Yeah,
it is coming into that time of the year now, working towards those the Tour Championships, which is going to culminate at Eastlake. But yeah, it was, Poston he opened up with a 62, which amazingly enough is the second week in a row that he's opened up with a 62, wow. Which is pretty impressive. We're very damn impressive. The first week he then followed that with a 70, the typical adage of really low first round, not being able to follow it up and turn it on the second round. He's obviously had a few days to think about that, decided to shoot at 62 again to have another go, and he kind of worked out the formula. It'd be interesting to know what he went with, but he seemed like he just stayed on the front foot, pressed on through rounds 2 and 3. But the course is quite easy. No wind. It was playing really soft. The greens dried out a little bit in the last round. And then, as you said, really, every time someone got close to him, he would make a birdie. They would then drop away. So they never really pressured him. I think if you would have seen some slightly bigger names, they would have, kind of steamrolled it a little bit. But
you get to 14, don't you? The risk and reward drivable par 4. And I think Griot made bogey, didn't he? Stallings parred it. I don't think anyone in the field that could have really poured it on had that kind of Morikawa moment, where they stiff it and like really put him under the gun. And then after that, it just got a bit flat. And I mean, obviously he'd done enough, hadn't he, the first 3 days to have a bit of a buffer and get the win.
Yeah, he just every time they got to within one, it just went his way.
Yeah.
Someone around and dropped a shot. Someone didn't quite have enough. Griot did play some really good golf, actually. But the guys behind him, Callum Tarrant, also played some good golf. But it seemed to, when it came down to it, they kind of fell short on the greens.
Yeah, Stallings, McCarthy, none of them made anything right. And I see his wife wanted her 5 minutes to fade, didn't she? She's on the green before it is like Kevin Nard it right onto the green. she's like 3 paces onto the green. She's picking his ball out the hole.
The ball was still rolling, wasn't it?
Well done. Go away. Just get out of shot. It was quite funny.
They're getting married in a couple of months, so she's probably thinking about upgrading the flowers and all that sort of stuff.
She ordered a Diamante wedding dress after his $1 million prize check.
I think they're going to revisit a few of those plans that they've made. So that was it. JT Poston, winner for the second time. Well done to him, and hopefully he takes out and presses on. Really good to see Callum Tarrant up there getting a top 10, pressing on towards the end of the season. Hopefully he can continue that form now and get that card. He was on the PGA Tour China 3 years ago. Won that tour comfortably, levelled up to the Corn Ferry Tour, spent a couple of years there, now on the PGA Tour and competing for titles. So his game looks really, really good. Fantastic tee to green game. James is not happy with his putting stroke. I didn't really see it. I was sitting there watching it, and he said he's got a bit of a fade putting stroke. I've not seen one of those before.
It just he reminded me a little bit, and this is probably a compliment really, of an English Zalatoris. He just got to 5 or 6 feet and just looked like it was notably the weakest part of his game. But I thought tee to green, like you said, he just striped it. Really, really composed, very competent. But he just got to 5 or 6 feet, but you just alluded to, nothing dropped for anyone on the backside, did it? And he had a couple of free whacks in the last 3 holes. It probably cost him a few dollars.
Yeah, but still a good finish from him. Then moving on to the DP Tour in Ireland. Normally a really big week. Ireland always produces good crowds, very much golfing country. And I mean, painfully to say, James did actually call the winner.
Did he?
Yeah.
It was a solid result. I mean, it was 5 under, 4 under, 4 under, 6 under or something. It was 4 rounds.
He's 20 under for 4 rounds, yeah. I've been following Adrian Moronk for a while now.
Very steady.
Awesome game. He's struggling a bit on the front side. The two par 5s are both he's a big hitter, but they're both very much in range, both down the wind. Hit it in the long rough on both par 5s. Ended up getting up and down from 70 yards for par on both of them. But it's holding on, and he putted great. Slightly bizarre alternative with the claw grip. I can.
Here you go. James is making his hand movements again.
I'm doing my wiggle flap. Yeah, and then I thought he showed a proper touch of class in the last hour of play. 4 under for the last 4 holes, birdie, eagle, par finish.
Yeah.
And the eagle on the 17th was just proper money. So,
talk us through that one. What did he do there?
Well, it's par 5, just rips one down there. Nukes it onto the green, cans apart, and like he walks around like a winner, bearing in mind he's had quite a lot of near misses. And I thought that was the phase where you'd look at someone and think they're probably going to be a little bit nervous. There's a big check, obviously the Irish Open, and he had swag about him. He walked like a multiple time winner, to be fair. And I think he's had a number of seconds or thirds, hasn't he? Last year he got close a lot. And I just think he looks like a really, really, really good player, Moronk. Like he just has everything in his game.
Yeah, and also good to see Padraig Harrington playing well again. Just off the back of his US Senior Open win, and he was racking up 180 odd ball speeds.
And he's a
senior. I mean, that is just something else. That is, but it's been a really interesting journey that he's gone through to keep his speed up. We all know he's happy to go out and test some slightly peculiar ways of getting better at golf, which is mental, I think, or it seems mental, because he won 3 majors doing something a certain way, and he's probably tried everything in golf, every training aid since then. But one of the processes he does to keep his speed up, which I find really interesting, is every morning, even before a round, he will spend half an hour with his driver just hitting it as hard as he possibly can, and And the guys are out there saying it's like a Red Arrow show. The ball's going literally left of the range, right of the range, some straight, all over the place. But it's just literally hit it as hard as you can for half an hour, and work up a full sweat before he goes
Trying
out.
to warm the muscles up.
What's wrong with that strategy?
Did you get that from you, Nige?
Yeah. 50 drivers on the driving range, that's all you need to do.
You don't do that anymore, though. You just chip now.
Always fun. That's what I find amazing. I want to give golf lessons to some people, and I've got one guy. Sometimes he just turns up at the range with his driver.
Yeah.
Straight out. He's like literally in his shirt. He's been at the office all day, and he comes down to the range just with his driver. And
I am singing here. The only clip I saw of Patrick Harrington this weekend was him and his caddy walking down the fairway eating an ice cream with 99 flake. And I'm like,
awesome.
Used to be a banana, didn't it? Now he's on his 99 flakes. Getting sugar rush.
Maybe that's the new speed.
But he's so relaxed. He's done it. He's been there and he's just, having a laugh.
Unfortunately, if that was a play, I'd be about 200 mile an hour ball speed. So I can confess that that's not the hidden secret.
Well, you might find that mysterious fade you're searching for.
Yeah, exactly. Probably in the barber shop.
Yeah.
Zane likes skin fade. Said, if he's about 180 ball speed, right, on the seniors tour, would he be getting about 50 yards? Would he be taking about 50 yards out the field?
Some of the players, yeah. Because you've got to think some of the senior tour players will probably be around 150 to 155 ball speed. Some of the fast ones be like mid 160s, 170 maybe on a few of them. So if you think he's 30 miles per hour ball speed faster than the other guys, and there's normally roughly 1.5-ish yards per mile per hour
carry, yeah.
Ball speed. I mean, that's it's complete next level, really. But we do see this quite often, the guys that as they turn 50, they kind of win a major or do well because they kind of get off the back of that mentality of competing against guys that are younger, and which goes back to the old adage of just playing golf with guys that are better than you, and it pushes you along, and then all of a sudden when you set down a level, it just seems so much easier.
Phil said that, didn't he, when he was doing all of his speed training, he was coming towards the senior tour, and one of the reasons was because they make the fairways wider and the carries are less efficient, so you can get way more out of it if you've got like way more in the bank. And he won a lot really quickly, didn't he, on the seniors tour with that sort of strategy? He was just hitting these massive nukes.
Yeah, it is. It must be quite good fun for those guys to do it. I mean, I get it with my dad comes and plays with myself and one of my other pals who's a pro. It always, kind of come out and, he's like a 10 handicap and he'll struggle a bit and, be a bit annoyed with his game. And then almost to a T, he'll like within 3 days, he'll text me saying, I've just had 40 points for the boys. The boys can't believe how well I'm hitting it. Because I think, you get in that mindset of you just watch someone else do it and you, at the time, your expectations far exceed what you can do. But then you just take little pieces from it, and then you go and play with people who are your kind of standard, and you're just not intimidated, and you just see the game differently. So I'm sure that's what those boys are getting out of that.
LIV Tour.
What are we saying there? I think it was quite a difficult week for the PGA Tour if you're comparing the PGA Tour to the LIV Tour, just because of the strength of field and the PGA Tour, and the LIV Tour had some new announcements. First one in the States, which made a bit of a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
We saw it looked like on the socials that it looked like a fantastic event and the crowds were enjoying it. There were a few, I don't know if you saw, there were a few more edgy comments being shouted at the players, which I think we didn't get at Centurion.
No, but
maybe slightly different crowds, a bit more beer involved possibly.
But that's, if you go historically back through events, that kind of crowd in the States has had that reputation over Europe, isn't it? You go way back all the way to Monty at the moment.
Yeah, a lot more vocal out there.
Yeah, but if you think about things on trend and like people moving in the right direction, just taking all the legalities and all the off-course conversations out of it, you look at their leaderboard and the content of the players that were there in the backside of the final day, like competing, you'd probably say that was the most attractive event of the week, right?
Yeah, obviously I had always good players there. I saw a couple of videos of Greg Norman pouring beer into fans' mouths and stuff on the balcony. It seemed to be taking a slightly different kind of journey to the PGA Tour, doesn't it? But, we're only 2 events in. But it's quite interesting. I think if you don't compare the events and just, it just seems like one's going like almost pure entertainment and the other is, is more of the traditional solid side of golf. If you're going to watch both the different tours, have different expectations out of both, and I think you can probably enjoy both. But as you were saying earlier, Nige, it does seem to be polarising. People are kind of taking sides as to which.
Yeah, I looked through Twitter and and see the comments are starting to get a little bit
New
more
on
personal.
Twitter. Like,
Yeah, new on Twitter. I'm all over it. but you know, it's actually a bit of a shame. I thought LIV Tour coming along would be good because it would stir things up a little bit. You know, I do look at the way the cricket was, 5-day test matches are just way too long, way too boring. LIV have come along, but I don't think 54 holes is big enough radical change from it. You know, it's from 72 to 54 is not that. You still got to have 3 days to tune in and watch what's going on. So I can see that they're trying to go at another angle, which is also make it more entertaining, more engaging with the fans and stuff. But I think if they actually got the game a bit more radically changed, I think there's more potential there. But the field was probably the best field out there to this weekend. And I was even on YouTube trying to work out how do you tune into to the LIV Tour.
I think with
still getting used to their graphics to work out what's good and bad, but yeah.
I agree with it's not radical in regards to days, 4 days down to 3. But if you think, bearing in mind now it's a shotgun start, that's a lot less time at course for a spectator. I mean, you think if you wanted to go to the Open Championship on a Thursday to Friday, and you want to go out at 7:54 because Rory's playing, but you've got to hang around until 2:10 because you want to see Tiger's group. I mean, that's 12 hours at course, isn't it? I mean,
is it a bit more like we get in football, so forth? You can kind of have a bit of a build up in the morning. I know in the States, tailgating is quite a big thing, isn't it? You go and they all get their trucks and whatever, and they have the barbecues and have a few beers beforehand, which is maybe why it was a bit more rowdy at the event. Yeah. I know they have stuff going on at the event, but it's kind of a very different theme to what we've seen in golf for quite some time.
So they're getting there earlier to beat the crowds, and then they're having to sort of sit around for 2 or 3 hours drinking and eating and being merry, I guess. And yes, I think it is appealing. I think it'd be great to go along to an event at some point and actually experience it, because you don't know how much is on the cameras.
Yeah, just what's going on. I think the team element. That is the kind of radical change which could be utilised really well. Not quite got it right yet.
It doesn't come across in the commentary that much, does it? You only sort of get a roundup at the end.
There's almost not quite enough. You almost want that. It needs to be the same teams every single week, doesn't it? And it needs you need to build up some of the dramas in there. And James made a good point last week about they're not playing together. Like maybe in the first round or first 2 rounds, if they played together, and it would kind of.
Well, it'd be more like Ryder Cup, they'd be doing a bit high fives and, like exactly. You say, and that helps the crowd engage with it. And,
I think
it's nice seeing the golfers being emotional, of course. I mean, we traditionally see them walking around and it's just very dull.
I think one of the sad things, and Josh alluded to it, is the potential of this tour would mean that with all change, you always have bad as well as you do good. And one of the things that could come off the back of it is that the intensity around the qualification process and then the Ryder Cup could suffer from this. So one thing they should really highlight from that is the team golf element, because you can get a flavour of it 8 times a year then. And I think actually if they played in the same groups for the first 2 days, there would be a bit more of an auction process, because the players would then be contributing to the managers and the franchise owners and be like, he's just not gelling with us, there's not the same chemistry, it's not working, can we do trading and things like that? It would make it way more interactive for the fans that would pull on the other kind of American sports and what it feels like they're trying to do with the game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can imagine just 3-putting the last and knowing that was it. You're gone.
Sack him. Get rid of him right now. Take his wages, take his family, take all of his belongings.
This geezer, every time, he's gone.
Chain him up against the wall and trade him right now.
But it would actually be, it'd be genuinely quite fun to hear them play as a team in the first 2 rounds and then have them mic'd up and just hear the chit chat and see if who likes to talk to the other players and get advice from who's and have the. Because I remember being at the Ryder Cup back in 97 when Seve was captain, and there was a few times and Seve was
Valderrama?
At Valderrama, and Seve was just everywhere. I remember standing left of the 18th and we were you're trying so hard to get a good spot, and we're down the left hand side. The pin was at the right, and my dad and I just got a really good spot on this. And then, people try and push past, but, you're kind of holding strong because you're no, this is my spot here. And this guy, remember this guy tapped my dad on the shoulder a couple of times, and my dad was I could see he's no, almost going to elbow the guy out of the way. He looked round, and it was Seve walking through the crowd from another fairway because he had to get to Monty, who was out on the. He was Probably should let him go past.
I should just elbowed him on the nose.
And he was in, and then on 17, he had gone across to Colin Montgomery to tell him how to play a wedge shot, and this quite a famous piece of video footage where Monty's just literally shooing him away, saying, just leave me alone, I've got this. And those would be small dynamics that we've not really got to experience in golf. I think that would be really, really cool.
But I think with the franchise stuff in the other sports, just to elaborate on that, I think inter-team trading and things like that would be really cool. I think you could track all of that stuff. It would definitely help them bring a new community in, which is where I think they're just struggling a little bit at the moment. And the interactivity of that would then separate it so much from the other tours that you would then create your own piece around that. And I think you're right. When you do go to live events and you see team events, and you've obviously played in all of them with England, GB&I teams and stuff, that stuff, if you can romance that in golf, like there'll be a real USP there.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Maybe these are sort of things we can take to the PGA Tour and get them fired up, because I just feel like the PGA Tour have an opportunity here, don't they, to really... They've done a pretty good job so far with last week or so. There's a couple of things I don't agree with, but the bit I do agree with, they kind of looked at themselves and then trying to improve themselves quite quickly. They've kind of... Yes, there's been a real backwards and forwards, but they've acted fairly quickly to appease the players they've got and tried to up their game. Yes, it's probably taken them quite a long time to get to that point, but now... They kind of kicked into gear. We're seeing some improvements. It'd be really interesting to see where they go.
People could argue, though, that they should have done that ages ago. LIV's come along, and they've probably been in quite a comfort zone.
Yeah,
and
it's not overnight, is it?
And it's not. And there are a lot of players, mumbles in the background before that, they weren't happy with certain aspects, and now all of a sudden they're on the back foot, and they obviously do see LIV as a big threat. And so that, you find that it's just they're pushing things a lot harder, a lot quicker. The partnership with the DP Tour came straight out pretty quickly.
So if Keith Pelly or any of the other senior officials at the PGA Tour are watching, you can get myself, Zane or Nigel at info@beartiger.io, and we'll be happy to apply for any jobs that you got going.
Yeah, I'm still just sitting on the side of the traditional golf at the moment. It is really nice to see something new and enjoy the players that have signed, that have moved across. I love watching. Obviously, we all love watching DJ. I watched DJ at the Open last year, which we'll come and chat about in a bit. But I thought he was a fantastic watch. And now they've got Bryson and Paul Casey turned.
Yeah, that was a big
turned to the dark side. That was quite a big one because he was originally not about the Saudi involvement.
Yeah, he's got a lot of stick online about that, didn't he? He's contradicting his previous comments made in the past.
I think with LIV, if you look at the top 10 this week, Grace won. 7 under final round was really impressive. Yeah. Carlos Ortiz straight in his first
we haven't even spoken about the results yet. Yeah. Brandon Grace won $6 million in 2 starts for 6 rounds of golf. $1 million a round, that's pretty good, isn't it?
He's made, 12.2 in his 182 starts prior to that at the PGA
Really?
Tour. Yeah. It's
6 rounds later.
What we alluded to on the last pod, that is exactly the point. Whether you've been given a massive kind of golden handcuff or a signing on bonus, that right there is, you just alluded to, that shows what difference it can make to someone, and going out and winning and earning that cash is great, right? Because he was a part of Schwartzel's team that won at Centurion, wasn't he? Mm. And I think it was actually DJ's team who just pipped them because Patrick Reed had a really good final round.
Right.
So I'll do the results quickly for you. So Grace won 13 under, Ortiz 11 under in his maiden start, Johnson and Reed both third at 9 under, Oosterhausen 7 under, Kazuma 6 under, Taylor Gooch I think in his first start 4 under, Matt Wolf 3 under in his first start, then Justin Harding, Bryson DeChambeau finished the top 10 at 2 under. So a really impressive top 10 really. Lion's share of those guys all top 50 players in the world. So,
but what I would say though is, impressive lineup, but the shot difference is huge. And maybe that's a problem with having only 48 people playing.
That is
you could
one
end
issue.
up with tournaments where the winners decided after certainly 2 rounds, maybe even 1.5, and there's such a gap that there needs to be a bit more competition. You want that going down to the last shot. They'll be playing on different holes, playing completely different shots.
Well, 11 shots separated the winner and 10th on LIV Tour.
Yeah,
and 7 shots separated the winner and 10th on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it does drop off a bit.
One extra round as well, right?
Yeah,
so
I think there will be a point. You're right, Nigel. It'll get pretty flat because there'll be such big gaps because there's not enough players to catch up. Because that is the exciting part that we see about the PGA Tour. Is yes, I love to see Tiger or someone dominate, who's a big player dominating, but then around that, you do see that it's so stacked. And we had an event last week where we just thought there's 10 players that could win this. 20 players start the day, think like, all of these guys could come through. And that, if we're being really honest, is what pushes the best golf, because everyone has to be on the front foot and they've got to keep going. That's what makes it exciting. When you get to a point where someone can just cruise around and they know they're going to pick up a big check, that's not really pushing them. I don't know if that's good. For being really honest, I don't think that's good for golf. That's not how to get the best out of the best players. Like, it's still not quite.
And I think you know that after the first round, right? Don't you? I mean, straight away, if you've in that format with that size of field, you know if you're in the running for the big cash after day one. Hence the reason I think it'd be so much better if they played in their teams, because like the mindset might just be in a slightly different space, like team prize cash, and because it almost becomes a better ball format, doesn't it? In the team 2 of 4 and things like that. The best 2 players.
I've not even got into the team side of it. I'm just trying to take in all the other stuff that's going on. It's just carnage, isn't it? It's complete carnage.
They don't want you to commentate on it, so you just focus on where DP and European ladies,
to that dark side.
Euro Pro,
yet
Challenge Tour.
Yeah, so there we go. I mean, this is a conversation we'll keep having with about the LIV. There's so much to be said. It's evolving. I think to round up, this was a better event than the one in London.
Definitely, yeah.
A bit further in, we'll see how that.
What's most interesting for me next is not their next event, actually how all those players are received at the Open.
Yeah, again, we were chatting earlier before we started recording a little bit about how Justin Thomas went online or went on a podcast talking about. Someone mentioned to him that now that some players have sued the tour, that he's now taking it more personally than he was, because he feels like, I'm the tour and now my friends are suing me. That's very, very different. And I think that's where it may get a little bit fractious at these events. I think some of the players, like Harrington, he came out and said in an interview that he has nothing against any of the players that have gone out and have decided to move across. He said they're my friends. That's just their decision, and they knew what was coming and so forth.
So how long before he moves over?
Yeah, exactly. He could go. Yeah,
when they do the senior LIV, the LIV Tour.
No, but you're right. That's one thing that's annoying me about it is getting more hostile now. And the media's pushing that. I think press are taking their side and they're getting more polarized by that. Yeah. And then I think the news organizations are taking a position and they're pushing that, and it's just slowly getting more and more ugly, and it's getting more personal now.
I don't understand that with Justin Thomas. If you're offending the PGA Tour, you're offending me. I am the tour. I mean,
as in they're saying that they've obviously sued the PGA Tour, and the way that it is put across to them is that they are the players of the tour, because it's supposed to be a players tour. It doesn't seem that way sometimes. It seems like the players kind of benefit from the organisation and kind of play for the tour, but essentially the PGA Tour in its wording is that it is owned by the players, which is where some of the issues have come up, because some of the players are owned by us, but there's money in the background that we're not getting to get into, which is kind of where a lot of these gripes started out with, and that's the stance that Phil took early on. But I don't know if we should go down that route. We could be here for about another 3 hours. It could get a bit messy.
What's next on the list then? What are we going to talk about?
So that leads us in quite nicely. Let's chat about the Open Championship. It's come out. We've got a few little points to go into. So we got, are the players going to be at each other? It could create a little bit more needle. But in more recent news, Mark Raves, who's on our podcast last week, part of our Bear Tiger team, he's caddying for someone at the JP McMahon's Pro-Am in Ireland, who is playing alongside Tiger, which is pretty impressive and pretty exciting for him. So it'll be interesting to get his take on that and see where Tiger's game is. What are we thinking about Tiger's chances at the 150th Open Championship at St Andrews?
Well, it's a lot flatter. He'll get around a lot easier. I thought that what let him down at the last 2 major championships was he just didn't quite have it on a string like he did at Augusta off the tee, and it's wider, so he can hit the ball a little bit wider. His iron game still looks there, still looks pretty good with a putter. He loves St Andrews. His favourite course, as per his sort of best course to play on interviews. And he is someone who seems to fall into these golf romantic moments. The 150th Open, St Andrews, like his comeback is coming. The weather looks pretty pure. He's over here well in enough time to acclimatise, isn't he? It's Tiger Woods.
So he's odds on for 278s and a missed cut then off the back of that.
I don't think he'll miss the cut. I mean, you and I had the luck of watching his first round at Augusta, and from watching him go from a practice ground onto a golf course that just looks so unforgiving was quite mental how he shot under par, wasn't it, really?
It was. And he didn't look like he could walk properly, obviously, on the range. And that course is up and down.
Yeah. And then to go and make 2 cuts at the next major championship, obviously he's playing the PGA. It's just, I don't know. I mean, you probably can quote better because you've played through injuries and you know him. Like, he can obviously dig out a standard of golf that's still competitive at the top level. Whether he can win is another thing.
Yeah, and I think he's only really interested. Well, I don't think he's only interested in winning.
Yeah.
Which is why he didn't go to the PGA or the US Open, because he just kind of knew, I'm not going to be ready for that. So he's given himself a bit of time, and he knows the way around St Andrews better than anybody. But still, will he make it physically? That's what we don't know right now. But game wise, normally you would say anybody who's not competed very much would have absolutely no chance. But he's probably the only person in the world of golf who he can, like, whenever there's a rule, he's able to break that, and that doesn't, almost the rules don't apply to him in that manner. You know, I'm enjoying talking him up and hoping that he will 100% be in the mix. I don't think there's anybody playing really, really well at the moment. I know Scotty Scheffler's world number one, and he's putting some, and he's there or thereabouts most weeks. But I think with the distractions going on, some of the other marquee players are not quite on their game, and there's no one for me. People keep saying, who do you reckon for the Open this year? And it's just like, I'm trying to pick from players who are actually slightly out of form, hoping they're going to come into form. There's nobody.
Adrian Morong.
Adrian Morong. Are you going with that? Is that
I'm not. No, I'm not. No.
What about Fitzpatrick? You don't think his form the last few?
Yeah, I mean, he's
got a great chance.
He's probably the one, I suppose. And I was on the commentary with James Gregg, who's his best mate, and he played with him at Lindrick this week. He's come home for a week, and he said he's just hitting it so far. He said he was just absolutely crushing it, like driving par 4 greens. And he's in around the mid 180s in ball speed, which is just.
Where's that come from?
Well, you said last week he'd been working on that, didn't you?
Yeah, he's
found 20 miles an hour.
Literally 20 miles per hour. He's gotten so strong, but I think he's really based all of his training and technique. We saw videos of him this week with his shirt off and all the dots on him in a squash court somewhere, just ripping balls
looking like
into a
Putin,
net.
Was he?
Really?
Yeah, just doing the whole kind of Bryson thing, and. Yeah, he just James has gone here.
Maybe it's the 99 flake.
99 flake.
Or maybe it's just been on the ice creams. Yeah, just
Lathering all over yourself.
James did more hand movements, pretending to.
And your dog lick it off.
Oh dear.
To put ice cream all over his chest. We'll leave that on for another time.
No, but so he's obviously gone into a really, really, really extensive training program because he's hitting it straight as well, isn't he?
Yeah. He's obviously started training with his in the gym, bulking up a touch, not massively, and then he uses this thing called a stack system, which is like a speed stick with like a yellow like kind of box on the end, and it links up to an app, and you put your radar down and it tracks how fast it moves, and there's a whole process as like a foundation level, intermediate, advanced, so it's all tracked, and there's funky graphs, and you can track your progress, and you just like level up basically. So his mate James, who's a good golfer, I think he's around about a scratch, who grew up with playing golf, he started doing it, and he's in the foundation part of it, and he's done 12 weeks, and he's gone up 11 miles per hour.
Wow.
And it's like a part of an 18-week, I think it's an 18-week process. So there we kind of got, very good amateur golfer, and then you've got top tour pro, and it's obviously worked for both of them. Both put on 10 miles per hour. So then I did actually go online and have a look for one, but they're now sold out to October. So I'm going to have to hit it short for another few months.
Yeah, if you can get us one, that'd be great.
Grab one of those. But yeah, I mean...
He's got a good chance, though.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Nige. I think probably Fitz is probably the most informed player. I think Rory has been in form for a long time, and I think he's probably I'm not looked, but I imagine he's probably close to being one of the bookies' favourites.
Yeah.
Yeah, he will be. He's taken a couple of weeks off as well.
Only thing, sometimes he builds it up a lot, like when the Open was at Ireland. He wants to win the Open so badly that it doesn't quite work out for him, but maybe he's learned from those other times, because he did well at St Andrews. So when he first turned pro, it was in 2007, and I had a really good run going that year. I had a few invites, and the tour called me and said, "Oh right, at the Volvo Masters, which is the end of season event, we do our awards So like, you're up on the putting stats, so you got a chance at that, and also Rookie of the Year. So I was like, oh, lovely! What a lovely year this has been. I had no card. I'm going to get my tour card. I've got some money in the bank. I'm going to get some awards. And then little Irish fella turned pro, made the cut at the Belfry, and then rocks up to St Andrews next week and finishes like second or third, and just completely blew me out of the water in about 2 weeks. And our careers have taken slightly different paths since then. So he loves St Andrews. He's played some really great golf there. I would love to see him win there. Hits it long, hits it high, so he can get to the tricky pins.
Yeah,
he's favourite, is he?
Is he favourite?
He's not odds on, but Rory's favourite, Scheffler second favourite, Rahm, Thomas, Spieth, Morikawa, Fitzpatrick, Lowry, Cam Smith, Schauffele, Zalatoris, DJ, Hovland, Cantlay make up them. Then the bar. Rory's 8-1, Scheffler 12s, Rahm 12s, Thomas 14s.
He grew up playing links golf as well. He's
Portrush.
Yeah.
I like Rory. I actually think if I was thinking about a player who Tiger was so good round there, and he looks like he's threatened to come back into form a little bit. And I was so impressed with him at RSG was Morikawa, probably one of the purest iron players out there. I don't think you have to be long at St Andrews. I mean,
no.
So
you don't have to be, but it's got to be an advantage. There's that little those few holes around the turn that you can get at, and you can drive those greens. Depending on the wind.
Yeah, but if you're short, you've got like a 50-yard pitch. If your wedge game's hot, you'll still make birdie.
I was thinking about we'll do our top 3 picks in a second, but I was thinking about DeChambeau. So he's coming back from injury, but there's a run there where he can get miles down 2, depending on the wind, but he can get miles down 2 and literally be chipping onto the green. Same on 3. It's so wide, he can just hoon it way down there.
Yeah.
Then he's got 5, which actually probably tightens up a little bit into where he would be hitting it. Then you got 6, 7. I reckon 7 in a favourable wind he could probably get close to, which I've never seen anyone else do it, but he can get right up by that green. Then you got 9, 10 both drivable, 12 drivable, 14 the par 5. I mean, there's just so many holes which are wide open, and then obviously 18 even if it's into the wind, he can get there, which is that is always, if it's a bit downwind, the whole field can get there, but if it's into the wind, he can get there, which is a big advantage. I just think that there's something in it for him. And also, last year at St George's, he was kind of in that time of playing well and hitting it miles, and it was really evident that his wedge play wasn't up to spec. And with all the chat going on, and he was moaning about drivers and not always saying the right thing, he did actually come out and say, my wedge game has got to be better, and he's been working on it. And just following him on his social medias recently, you can tell that he's putting a lot of work in on his wedge play. And I wonder whether that's partly because of injury, because his hand's still healing, and also because of his experience last year at the Open Championship.
Yeah.
So
I think actually thinking about it, there's such a solid argument for Rory. I mean, Bryson just rips it, but Rory's by no means short. I mean, he'd be up there next in the next group, wouldn't he, for longest on there? And he has got this ability beyond other people to orbit irons, and he can apex them higher than anyone. And if we get the weather like this for another week in Scotland, they'll make it so benign and hard to try and protect the course. He's going to have that kind of extra attribute in his locker where he can apex it like 150, 160 of irons. It's just whether his putter's going to work, right? Because I think that's probably the real protection at St Andrews, with the undulations of the greens, how not so much deep they are, but they're so wide. Yeah, so someone's going to have to putt really well, aren't they, to lift the jug?
Rory's had a couple of brilliant rounds in the last few competitions he's played in, but then he's had a couple of howlers. And if you look at what causes his problem, it was his driver, wasn't it? I don't think you're going to get penalised as much at St Andrews off the tee if you're doing those kind of drives. It'll be dry, so the rough won't be that bad.
There's not really any rough to speak of.
There isn't.
If you take a certain strategy.
So he can just bomb it off the tee, and he's probably got a shot in without too much trouble. And he'll be used to playing those types of shots. So I think Rory's sort of Achilles heel is when he's off the tee, he's not too strong, and then he suffers. I think he's got a good chance. I'm not surprised he's favourite. I would have thought Fitzpatrick would be up there a bit more.
He is, yeah.
Where is Fitzpatrick?
It's about 7th, I think.
16-1. So
we get better odds than Betfair. Not that I'm plugging.
Not financial advice.
24-1 there.
But then coming back to that, if it's really firm, there'll be a lot of wedges in from circa sort of 150 and in. and I've got to stay consistent with this because I always say it to you, out of the top players in the world, I think DJ is the best wedge player out of them. So I think with that being said, he'd have a really good chance.
Okay, so let's do our top three, shall we? Who wants to go? Who wants to go first? Nige, do you want to? Have you got a top three?
Is it in order
in
or
order,
no particular
I
order?
would probably go
three
Fitzpatrick as my first bet, and then I definitely think Rory's going to be there, and boringly Scheffler. I think.
Yeah.
I'm just sticking with it.
You've gone with the real dark horses there.
I haven't got any outsiders. DJ's a bit of a shout though. They get some good odds on him. I would have thought he might be fishing instead, won't he? Good fishing in Scotland.
DJ can just aim out the left into the middle of the golf course and just cut it back, so obviously he can hit it way left.
He hopes to get some morning tea time on Thursday so he can go and catch the Loch Ness Monster in the afternoon. Right, Zed, you go, because I'm going to try and
You're going for a long outsider,
okay.
aren't you, James?
I'm going to try and find one outsider just for all of
I thought you were Mystic Meg last week. Now
Exactly.
you haven't got a clue.
Well, just for nostalgic purposes, I'm going to chuck Tiger in there.
Nice.
Just because I probably want that more than the likelihood of that happening. But I just feel like if anyone could ever do it and to somehow add to this amazing, almost movie of the life of a sports person, every time he seems to come to a point where people think he can't do it, he does it. So I'm going to say Tiger on that. Then I think Bryson, just for the reasons I said. I think you haven't got to be straight off the tee. There's a bunch of holes, which I think there's going to be one or two holes where he can actually take it on, which other players can't. He can reach 18 in almost any weather. 17, for instance, gets wider the further you hit it. And he's been working hard on his wedges. That's my second pick. And then on the third pick, I'm going to go with, I think, Xander Schauffele might be a shout. I think he's about to come back into form in the majors because he had a really good run early. He's putting pretty well and he's won twice this year. Now, one of them was a pairs event, but the confidence is riding pretty high. So, yeah, I think it could be his time. There's someone else I'm forgetting. I was going to trade out Schauffele for, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
You got a more like you're each way £1 each way shout.
£1 fish.
Well, Woods is 65 to 1.
Oh,
he's the outsider, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
Woods is kind of the.
It's your each way bet.
I'm going to try and chuck in 100 to 1 shot just for the listeners. For the £1 each way. I like Thomas Pieters. I think he's been playing really, really well. I mentioned last week he's trending really in the right direction since an equipment change. He nukes it. His all-round game's been really, really in the right direction. He's been there or thereabouts every week. This sort of course setup will suit him. He's got pretty much all the shots in the bag, and he's a solid putter. So for 100 to 1, he'd be where I'd be pointing Ivy in the direction for £1 each way.
130 to 1 on Betfair. There you go.
There you go. So then the 3, I like Morikawa this week. I think he was really, really, really impressive at RSG. I think
somebody sent me a video from his practice round in JP McMahon's pro, one of the guys I coached, and he hit this massive slice off this tee. Yeah, I did actually repost it. So I'm gonna.
You waited until I picked him. You knew. That was coming.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that one.
Well, hopefully at the Open he does it off one and it doesn't go more than 89 yards, right? I like Morikawa. I think his iron game will really put him in good stead around here, and he seems to lift it in major championships. I think DJ will have a really, really good run. He's obviously coming back into form. Played really well this week in the LIV event, and that looks tight off the tee, so he'll have a good chance. And my third pick would be Rory as well.
Okay. Yep. For all the reasons we spoke about. I actually just remembered the person I was going to say, so I'm going to actually remove Xander Schauffele. He's been substituted out. I'm going to go with Victor Hovland.
Nice.
For a couple of reasons. So early in the year, we had to go on Sky and they had everyone come in. You had to kind of say on the camera, on the TV, who you thought was going to win the majors. And he was like first out for me. I thought this guy is odds on to win a major. Reason being, just because at St Andrews he's a fantastic driver of the ball, a fantastic iron player. He can putt. His Achilles heel is chipping, but it is possible to get around St Andrews and hit 68 greens out of the 72.
Well, and also putt a lot from the fringes, right?
Yeah, it's not as big an issue for him. Not a great bunker player, but he could kind of ball strike his way around there, and not have to have that Achilles heel. So I would quite like that, and also I'm hosting an event on the Tuesday
I knew this
for
was
JL with him and Robbie Williams, and I'm actually going to tell him that don't make me look bad here. I've been out and he was my odds on to win a major this year, so I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure to him.
He's going to carry that on the first. Anyone else hot?
Yeah.
90-yard fade.
Yeah.
Thanks, Zane.
Have you guys? So you got? No, you would have played the old course at St Andrews.
Well, I played it once actually.
How was your experience?
Typical round for me. A lot of frustration around the greens, but yeah. I did a wayward drive on 18, which ended up in someone's car.
Come on, talk us through that. Come on. So you walked onto the tee. Where's the wind?
The wind was slightly left to right coming in from the sea.
Slightly left to right. So, are you on the back tee or the up tee?
Back tee then, yeah.
So, and where's your head at? Are you thinking I can get there?
Well, I'm a natural drawer, so I'm getting excited because it's I haven't played that well, and it's always nice to finish with a smacking drive on 18.
So, are you thinking about getting onto the green?
I'm thinking aggressive, and just kept the weight back, and it just faded right. Hit a couple of bed and breakfasts, bounced about, settled on a tyre of someone's nice BMW.
Well, it's quite interesting because I've seen people hit it out of bounds there, and there is a moment you think if it goes far right and hits the building, it could come back.
It could come back.
Was that in your head?
Well, it was clanging around.
Were you hoping?
All these poor little Japanese tourists ducking for shelter. But I've got my Pro V back. Never lose a Pro V.
It does amaze me that people park their cars down the right hand side of that 18 because it's kind of the right hand side is like the fast route. It's kind of where you want to go.
I mean, there's so much space on the left there.
So much space.
It's ridiculous. And I'm thinking, great, I can really go at this, and if I pull it too much, I've got loads of landing area. Next thing I know, I'm watching this massive high fade. Head for Doris's bed and breakfast.
Nip in and get a bacon and salmon. It's a fascinating that part of the course because there's parts of the course which you get out in the end. It all gets a bit quiet, doesn't it? You can't really see too much, but the first and the 18th, it's just an amazing scene. I mean, standing on the first tee, it's so wide. I think it can be quite daunting because you're just thinking, this is so wide. The only thing I can do here is completely fuck it up. Like that is it. You can't really do anything wrong.
We were going to try and make this podcast not an X-rated one.
It is now, yeah. Well, we're talking about booming out of bounds and hitting golf balls as a Japanese tourist.
Exactly.
We took that turn.
Putting an imprint in Doris's black pudding.
Yeah, it was gone. Yeah, I mean, I played there a few times, and I was really fortunate to play there in the 2010 Open Championship. I had my dad caddy for me in the qualifying.
The Blade.
Playing the Blade. So
where did you qualify?
I qualified up at St Andrews Bay, up at the Fairmont. Yep. There was 3 spots, came second, got in. It was a couple of weeks before. My dad had caddy for me, and I just thought I can't not ask him to caddy for me in the actual tournament. So so he was like, no, you can get a professional caddy, but I thought, no, I've got to get him on the bag. And so we had the practice days, that was all fine, and got to the point where we got to the first tee, and I remember just kind of seeing disappointment on my dad's face because my dad's really into his clothes. He likes to pick his outfit and dress really sharp, and had it all laid out. He was always gonna be the smartest looking, best dressed caddy at the Open Championship that year. And I remember the starter giving him this green caddy bib because he basically each player in the group, one gets a yellow bib, one gets a red, one gets a green. That's right. And he got given the green one. And I remember just the look on his face because he'd obviously planned out his outfit. He had these red trousers on. It was all perfect, and he had to wear this green bib. And I remember just looking at him, and I was like, "You look like a Christmas tree."
Or a traffic light.
He was gutted. So then the rest of the week, he would then speak. You could work out whoever was first on the tee sheet, first 1, 2, 3. That was the order in which the bibs came out. So he would look on the tee sheet, work out what colour bib he was going to get, and then he would pick his outfit accordingly. So he bounced back for the next 3 days. He wasn't making that mistake.
It was good that you made the cut.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, but the point I was getting to was a bunch of my mates come up and they had these yellow t-shirts made up with they grabbed a stupid shot of my face off of some Instagram post somewhere and had it printed with their nicknames on the back and had it printed on their top. So there's 10 of them. I've got 10 friends, amazingly, and they had these yellow t-shirts. And so we get on the first tee and it was quite dry, so it was only like a 3-iron, maybe a 2-iron. And so I pegged the ball up, and it's a real moment getting on the first tee because up to that point you're kind of chilled out and it's fine. And then you get on the first tee, you do your car, get your car, swap the cars with other players, and get your club out, make sure everything's all set. And then when Ivor calls your name, all of a sudden there's a feeling that just comes over you, and you just think, it's like top to bottom, you just go whoosh, and you you can't feel your body. Like you can't feel your arms, your legs. You're moving, but you're just thinking, what's happening here? And you kind of like put the ball in the ground. So you know how you grip like the ball and the tee. And normally you put your thumb on top of the ball as you push the tee in, and you're just thinking, I can't feel that tee going into the ground here. This is not nice. Then you kind of stand up and you do your couple of practice swings and you put the club behind the ball, and then there's that little moment of like, oh shit, that's a 2-iron. That looks really, really small right now on the tight turf. And then you think, I should have teed it up a bit more. And then you think, no, forget about it. Everyone's watching. Just do a couple of waggles. And then you waggle with the club, and then you're going, who's moving that club? Is that me? And then you just think, right, I just need to get moving here, get swinging. And then you start your swing and you just think, I still can't feel where that club is. Then as you start the downswing, you kind of think, I hope that club comes back down again. And then luckily enough, I did make contact and it went straight. But just before that, as I looked up just before I took my waggles, I remember looking up and then all my mates were in these bloody damn yellow T-shirts down the right-hand side, just walking down, just obviously out of bounds. And I remember just thinking to myself, just don't shank it into the boys, which is obviously a horrible thought to get on the first tee at an Open Championship. And then, but once you get away from there, it's fine. But it is just one of those T-shirts. It's so wide. You think the only thing I can do is completely mess up. There's that famous T-shirt of Ian Baker Finch where his hat came off and it, hooks it and the ball just runs out of bounds. It's a nightmare.
I think on varying levels, right? It's just that first tee feeling everyone has. It doesn't matter if you're playing in your club champs or your medal or your first junior open. I remember my first junior open I played in at Hainault, and the lad I played with actually shat himself. So,
I can relate to it, but it's usually because I've got a hangover.
But yeah,
you can't feel the ball.
What, shitting yourself or
where's
being
my
nervous?
club?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which ball am I aiming for?
But that was brutal, actually. Bless him. But
you've not played St Andrews, have you?
No, I've been in the ballot, but didn't get pulled out. But I've played the Fairmont in the St Andrews Links Championship, with St Andrews boys.
Yeah.
You don't actually get to play the old course, which is pretty tough. But 72 holes around, just looking. I wonder what that's like.
Yeah. The good one over there.
Yeah. So, but no, I've not played it. It's definitely on the bucket list.
Nice. I've actually been able to snag a tea time on the Monday afternoon right after the Open, which, to be fair, I'll probably be sick of it by then after walking 2 rounds a day.
You said you couldn't do the podcast because you were working.
Yeah.
Working, yeah.
Yeah, I just working on my 18 holes around St Andrews.
Yeah, just got busted there. That's fine.
Say hi to Doris for me.
The black pudding's really good.
So how did you score when you played?
So I made the cut. I think I was around par, maybe a couple under. It was made the cut relatively comfortably in the end. I played one of my best shots I've ever played on the 17th over the road hole bunker.
Yeah.
I hit it left in the worst spot on the downslope on a tight lie. Pin was just over the bunker, and there was the grandstand is obviously the other side of the wall. So I'm looking straight at the grandstand. I had my stats guy there who had a kind of
see a bunch of yellow T-shirts all
bunch of yellow T-shirts. Which is fine, but I had my stats guy there who had a slight fallout with early in the week because he thought I should put a 60-degree wedge in, but I was adamant I didn't need a 60-degree around St Andrews. I had a 56-degree, and then obviously I had this shot which needed a 60-degree wedge to get up over the bunker, and I could see him sat in the stands right behind where I was looking, and I played the best shot I've ever played. Kind of opened it up and got a nippy strike. You know when it comes out low and it almost looks like the ball slowing down as it's going through the air, and it took one hop and just stopped dead to like 3 feet, and there was a big rapturous applause behind on the other side, and I was like, I remember thinking, have that, I should have used a 60-degree, and then walked around there and then missed the putt.
Yeah.
So didn't really get to finish it off, which was a very disappointing.
This bag of lemons behind you all went, oh no!
Suddenly he had 8 friends.
Yeah. 2 lemons fell off the tree.
Yeah, so that wasn't so good. But yeah, and then made the cut and then got to play with Steve Stricker in the last round, who was a gentleman. He was really, really nice guy. He'd won the John Deere Classic the week before.
Buying the rounds.
Yeah, he was buying the rounds.
You a tractor?
He was, and it was interesting because he's a good putter, and putter's been the best part of my game. So a couple of the boys are, this would be great to watch you two, whatever it was, and we pretty much both played great and missed everything all day, which is again disappointing. But there was a few holes around the turn where I hit it just inside him, so he would hit it to 15 feet, I'd hit it 10 feet, and he would putt up and. He'd kind of been asking me about my story at the time. I was playing a bit of Challenge Tour, and he kind of empathise with like it wasn't necessarily a big deal for him not being in contention, but it was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And he was just really interested in what I was getting up to. So every time, as he would walk past me, he would just say like, just whisper like, "Knock it in, Zane," like, because he was rooting for me, but it was just really nice. But every time he said that, I missed the putt. Towards the end, I would be like, "Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it." Oh, he said it.
You think he's being nice, but that's a common tactic, isn't it? That's a mind game.
Maybe that's what it was. But yeah, he was really cool actually, and it was interesting. He didn't seem like an amazing player, as good as he was. I think at the time he was number 4 in the world, but he just hit this like little draw, went like 275, 280, hits his 6th iron from like 170, kind of taps it down there. But he just, and my dad's a 9-10 handicap, and he was saying it doesn't seem that amazing. This guy doesn't seem that good, but the amazing thing was he just knew what he did. You can tell that he was really comfortable in his own skin, and he just didn't make bad decisions. Yeah, he just made good decisions all day long.
Interestingly enough, Steve Stricker, as long as I've watched golf, has used a white hot 2 and never changed his putting grip and never really changed his putter. And we spoke about your putting in podcast 1 about you never having a grip change, and you've been a very good putter. And maybe there's something about the repetitiveness of putting there that sort of bears fruit.
Yeah, as long as Steve and I don't play together, we'll putt quite well. But yeah, it's going to be like a fascinating week. The 150th Open at St Andrews. I'm absolutely buzzing to be up there for the week and get to see it. I really, really hope that the weather hangs on for us.
Looking forward to it. I'm coming up.
Yeah, what day are you coming up?
I'm going to probably do like middle to the back end of the week. We've got What's in the Bag with Mr. Willett.
Oh, exciting.
With his new Bear Tiger Tour bag.
Drop that one in there.
Drop it in there, yeah. And then we've got a few bits, and no doubt I'll be your groupie and run you around with Diet Cokes and 99 Flakes whilst you're doing all your course commentary.
We're trying to hint it further, all those ice cream changes.
Lavering them all over yourself.
Putting me through. Nigel, are you going to make any appearance up there? Have you got time, or are you going to be at home watching it?
No, I haven't planned to go up, but you never know. Check the diary. I only plan a week ahead, so we've still got plenty of time. Maybe the Scottish Open, that's a renaissance, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Could all change, yeah.
It's got a good field, I think.
Really strong field. Really strong field. That's going to be exciting.
But again, I think off the back, that's because some of these guys want to come and play some links golf before the Open, and then you've got the Irish Open playing inland course.
Oh, this could kick us onto Heads Gone, because I think this is a candidate.
Yeah, maybe this would take us in, right? So we've got a section of our show. It comes towards the end of this chat. Is the section called Heads Gone.
Heads Gone.
Which can be anything personal to you during the week, or it can be something you've seen, someone's had a meltdown, or someone's, lost it on camera or on course. Have you guys got any heads gone for us? Nige, maybe.
My head's gone is the engineer at Kingswood Surrey who thinks it's sensible to cut through all the fucking internet lines whilst he's pulling the road up. So my internet speed at the moment is probably about as competitive as a mouse in a wheel on the old dial-up nudge. We've got 1 meg down, nothing up. So the guys waiting for this podcast is probably going to come out in September 23. By the time it gets
so quicker than last week's, then.
Go on, Nige. What's your head's gone this week?
I haven't. Listen, I had a little bitch and moan about the Irish Open. I'm watching the Irish Open, and I think Shane Lowry's the highest level, highest ranked golfer in the tournament. And scraped through the cut. I think he got 4 birdies in the last 4 holes just to make the cut, which was actually quite exciting. It's quite good, and he's right in there with the crowd. And it's
had a really good weekend as well.
Very, very good. But then you're seeing clips of Spieth's playing Lahinch round the corner, and Justin Thomas and Fowler. They're all there playing links golf courses. And I think it's they obviously they're getting And Rory, I said he's took 2 weeks off. He's obviously playing at JP, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he actually said in his quote, "I'm going to take some time off and go and get some links golf in." So I think the Irish Open's maybe not helping itself by hosting on inland courses when, we've got the best golfers in the world coming over to this part of the world to get ready to play the Open, which is links golf. And then the Scottish Open's doing the right thing. They're the week before, and they tee it up with links golf. And, the Irish Open last 2 years been Mount Juliet, and then the year before that it was inland, and then the K Club's got it, I think 23, 25 and 27. So, that debate's not a new one. It's been around, as people have made that comment before, but I just think, it's just crazy when they've got the opportunity to get, and the prize money's good. I think it's something like 5 or 6 million.
Winner got €1 million this week.
So, it's not small money. It's not sanctioned, I believe, which I don't know if it makes a massive difference.
DP only, isn't it? Yep.
But it's a shame. And anyway, listen, what do I know? 12.2 handicapper. but got a microphone.
Yeah, and a goat.
Well, there was some clips, wasn't there, online with Spieth playing with goats.
Yeah.
That's just down a little hinge with a couple of goats munching next to my ball.
I think you doubled your following with that tweet.
Yeah, that was a good one, wasn't it? That.
Yeah. Where my goat's at?
Yeah, my head's gone is James and I played with my mate Zane at Wizzy this week, and we had like a bit of a front backer match, and Zane cleaned us out front backer match, and he played okay, but we completely gave it to him. That is my bit of head's gone. Just couldn't get it going. The upside being that is a 75 that's gone into my EG handicap, so I can work my handicap back up a little bit to can be competitive with the boys. But yeah, that was a frustrating day out on the links.
With double, didn't you? That was good after ripping a drive.
One of the best drives I hit on Garden 1.
Yeah,
probably ever hit. Had that 8-iron in water, then spun it back off the green into the water, and then didn't chip and putt. Like such a nice day, with my friends. The sun's out, good drive off the first. Then within 10 minutes, just in a strop, walk into the second tee. Golf just does you like that, doesn't it?
I peaked on the first hole, made a nice birdie.
Lovely birdie.
Got up and down from 80 yards, and then the rest of it went downhill.
So what hole were you hunching at? That old famous slate hunch. I hate this game.
The slate huff.
I mean, if you had a swear box on the golf course after...
Yeah. No, I parred the second.
We'd be millionaires, Rodney.
I parred the second. We had a really awkward wind on 3. It was just going round and round and round and round. And the third hole on Garden's a tough par 3. It's got false front, water at the front. All goes all the way around the left. And yeah, I just didn't have a shot.
Early, basically. Yeah. It was a long day.
It was in the first hour. Yeah.
That's when you get off the course. You don't know anything about it. You have no conversation with him because he's just huffing in the rough somewhere. Bloody lie. Everything goes wrong. It's like the end of the world.
He bounces back pretty quick though. It doesn't last too long. Next day, he's
I really
back.
enjoyed handing 60 quid to Zane.
Right.
This overly competitive dentist that just didn't miss a beat. And it's was down to 4.
Yeah, but he did finish up because he gave him a charger for his car.
Yeah.
Which he didn't have. So you probably,
which is really good because I just plugged it in. I got 30 miles out of it for the last 14 hours. So we're going to put all the iPhone chargers into the car and just pray that some electricity goes into it.
You're definitely becoming more optimistic with life, aren't you?
Exactly. Optimism is high. Zed, just before we cut though, one thing we didn't do is I want to give the guys your Zane's pick for the Scottish Open. Who are you picking this week?
I don't even know who's playing. I'm joking. I'm gonna say Matt Fitzpatrick, just on the back of chatting to James Gregg, my co-host at Discovery, who's his best mate, and he obviously says he's in a really good place. He's going to be a little bit busy. He's been very busy since winning that US Open Championship, but he just said he's hitting the ball so far. Renaissance is not that tight, and I think he's going to be on absolute cloud 9. The downside will be if he's been pulled pillar to post, which he's maybe not quite used to, and now he's taken himself up to a new level.
It's good for a squeeze fade as well, Renaissance.
But yeah, I'm gonna just coming back to Europe for the first time in a while. Yeah, I'm gonna go with him.
And it'll be a nightmare for Nige if he does win.
And also,
no one ever really goes and wins Scottish.
And so Callum Tarrant he's gotten a start. He's gotten a late invite, but he got into the Scottish Open, which he was excited about. So he'll be one to watch. How about you guys?
I think Fitz is a good shout, actually. It does suit. I remember when Noren won round there, it was like, it just suits someone who can just get it left of the post and just hit fades.
Man, ask your own heart. Fades.
Well, I can hit a right-handed fade. But, I think Fitzpatrick's really trending in the right direction. His game looks really, really money at the moment.
But you can't have him. I've taken him.
Well, I'm just going to agree with you.
It doesn't happen very often. Nige, any?
I wasn't. You've nicked him. He was my choice.
We are Team Fitzpatrick for the Scottish.
That's it. Let's get some yellow shirts made up.
Do we just all admit? Do we just all admit we don't know who's playing?
No. No.
It's a really good field that's got who's playing. I'm not too sure.
It's a massive prize fund, isn't it?
It's a big prize.
Yeah, it's
PJ Tour event, isn't it?
6, 7.
I think maybe even more than that.
Actually, just real quick, one of the things I think is kind of odd is that I think that
$8 million.
The Open Championship qualifying. So this week at the John Deere, we can field top 3 players, otherwise not exempt, of which after the cut, I think there was actually only 2 players who were actually exempt for the Open. So it was basically the top 3 from the John Deere got in. Yet that's not the same case as the Scottish Open, which is a week before on a links course with a really good field. So is the Open getting the best field? I'm not sure.
Good point.
That could have been in the head's gone.
Head's gone.
On that one, yeah, I don't agree with that.
We've hassled the Irish Open organisers. Now we're on to the Scottish ones.
What can we just dig everyone out?
So you got the Barbasol Championship as well the same week in America, which is that a co-sanctioned?
It's just a PGA Tour event. It's another PGA Tour event that they put on the same time as the Scottish, because obviously the Scottish has a lot of players from the DP World, isn't it?
But it's on the DP World's app though.
Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, that kind of rounds it up for us. A quick shout out to Pavan Sagu, who won the Europro this week with unbelievable round, finishing with a 62-63 finish.
Nice.
Yeah.
What did he win it by then?
He won, I don't know, probably a few. Maybe
definitely with 62-63.
A few, yeah. The scoring was quite good. I think it was 18 under in the end. Got to quite a slow start. Yeah, he's a really good lad, Pav. He's been part of the academy on and off. I've given him a couple of lessons this year. I didn't teach him those bits. That was obviously all himself. But yeah, hopefully he really kicks on from there. That was really, really impressive.
Does he get anything with that? Doesn't get him anywhere?
No, that will get him. He'll be up on the rankings. Top 5 in the Europro get to the Challenge Tour and so forth. Sometimes there is if you're up on the rankings, you get into another event. But essentially, it's a win.
Did he try and qualify for the Open?
12 grand check. I don't think so. I think he chose to go to the Europro instead.
Right.
So fair play to him committing to that. And yeah, it's fantastic golf that is. I mean, being on a third level tour shooting 62, 63s, you've got to think that there's more to come from him at other levels.
That's great.
He's a great player, Pav. Really, really, really lovely demeanour as well. Works super hard, always down the range late at night in the cold.
How'd you know that?
Just because I speak to him. So he's had his demons, hasn't he? With a few injuries.
I'm really cold, James. In balls.
I know, but I mean, he's down like.
Give you a cuddle.
He's down.
I'm on my way.
Wearing a bomber jacket with his hood up, so it doesn't look hot. He's a good lad, isn't he? So he's had his demons with injuries and stuff as well, hasn't he? So good to see him bounce back and win.
So hopefully he can press on. So we've had some really good stuff in there this week. The highlight this week has been Big Nige on Twitter. And we've got his actual handle so people can follow it. TBTC.
At TBTC Big Nige.
Love it.
The Bear Tiger Club, TBTC.
The Bear Tiger Club,
There we go.
Don't worry about that. We're just all pro Big Nige here.
There we go. So thanks very much for joining us, guys. I hope everyone enjoyed listening. And
when are you going to get a Bored Ape Nige?
I don't know. When the price comes down.
It's on its way.
If I get 100 followers.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Plug that.
That is it. Right.
That's a 15-second plug.
Yeah, if we can get TBTC Big Nige to 100 followers, he's going to buy a Bored Ape, which is an NFT, which is for another podcast, which we'll get
for
into
another day,
point.
for another time. That's a big commitment. Nice.
I'm going to have to hire a tweet writer. I'll give my mate Ricky Gervais a quick call. That should get things going.
Cool. Cheers, Ed.
Cheers, guys. Nice one.
Cheers. Thanks, Ed.